I know that the Nintendo Switch is supposed to be on its way out sometime next year, and that the Switch Successor is right around the corner, and in every way, there are a lot of signs that point to it becoming the norm. But even with the huge amount of evidence that we're near the end of the Nintendo Switch era, the system is still doing extremely well! I mean, I know sales are not as huge this year as they were last year, even in comparison to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series systems, but what kept the Switch going strong was a moderate amount of software that came out, some of which are all new, never-before-seen games like The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. In fact, as I speak, this game has sold around 20 million copies. That's worthy for a sequel to Breath of the Wild. But we didn't just get new titles like Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Pikmin 4, or Fire Emblem Engage. A bit of nostalgia filled the Switch with games like Metroid Prime Remastered, Advance Wars 1 and 2, Kirby Return to Dreamland, Pikmin 1 and 2, and the legendary Super NES classic remade Super Mario RPG. Even third-party games like Disgaea 7, Dave the Diver, Octopath Traveler 2, Blasphemous 2, Bayonetta Origins, Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered, and even Sonic Superstars, to name a few, helped fill out the Switch's library in 2023. I think what's surprising is that, compared to previous generations of Nintendo consoles and handhelds, the Switch's own Twilight years feels like the brightest of them all. Yes, even in comparison to the 3DS, DS, and Game Boy Advance. In my mind, I think Nintendo wants to milk this system for all it's worth, and other companies like Sega, Nippon Ichi Software, Capcom, and Square Enix are still on board to the very end, while others are already releasing their last titles on the system. After all, the Switch Successor is on its way. Now, speaking of which, my only concern for the Switch Successor is not if the system is graphically powerful, it's if the system is backwards compatible with all Nintendo Switch titles. The one thing that does ease my concerns for a bit is that not only will the successor use an ARM-based CPU, but that Nvidia will be handling it once more. That being said, Nintendo needs to implement backwards compatibility into its successor, and there are reasons why. First off, there are a lot of games on Nintendo Switch that would be locked out of its successor without backwards compatibility. Not just games that were made for the system, but games that finally came to the system. Some gamers claim that Nintendo can re-release these titles onto the Switch successor if it doesn't have backwards compatibility, but that would be a major waste of resources if Nintendo had to go with this approach. Besides, the PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4, and it featured a remake of The Last of Us, which was released on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. And speaking of which, the second reason why is because Sony and Microsoft both have backwards compatibility within the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series systems, though with some drawbacks. Some PlayStation 4 games do not work on the PlayStation 5, like Afro Samurai 2 and Hitman Go Definitive Edition. And while the Xbox Series systems are incompatible with any Kinect titles, they make it up with some Xbox 360 and Xbox Classic games that either work on or are optimized for the current Xbox. It's not perfect, but it goes a lot farther than what Sony or Nintendo could do with backwards compatibility. 2024 is shaping up to be the final year of the Nintendo Switch, with word that the successor will release that year. It may also mark the end for me and my Switch Watch videos. Throughout 2024, I will also release a list of older games that deserve to be on the Switch or on its successor. And oh boy, is it a lot or what? So we will cover that in separate videos. But hey, only time will tell how the Switch's final years will play out. Anyway, I'll see you in 2024 and what may be the beginning and the end for me and my Switch Watch videos.